Bug.
That ain't bored.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Do a little trimming, a little extra trimming.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
these.
What's going on, everybody?
That storms or bandits?
Those are all wigglers. There's some old storms in there, but all sorts of fun stuff to talk about tonight, guys. Marlon's on the phone. How come I don't see any comments, Clint? Is it broken? What'd you break? Is it actually 6:30? Did we start live? Is that why everyone's like freaking out? Sockeye start for me on the 1st. Can't wait, says Garrett Oberfelder. That's right. The Sockeye are coming, and I got news for all you guys Sockeye fishing over here below Monteville. Awesome. Fantastic. Great news.
What'd they do?
Yes.
Screwed us over once again?
Tomorrow's your last day.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. You
We're
guys
gonna have some record number of sockeye over the dam.
Yeah,
We're like
it's
crushing the
how-
10-year average.
Yeah, it's how, and the reason why. Now, why do you think it's closing? Like, let's just put this together.
Big smallies in Lake Chelan, huh?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, they have some. Didn't they do an NSF tournament there one time? Yeah.
If it was many years ago.
Yeah.
How many of you guys watching right now are excited that we're talking about bass, and how many of you
Summer
are
bass.
super annoyed that we're talking about bass? I want to know. I want to see.
There's one out tomorrow for Smalley, says Mr. Weed Hopper.
I guess the people that are tuning in are probably excited because that's why they're tuning in.
Yeah.
Which is why we have the lowest number of viewers that we've had in months.
You're gonna be so disappointed when it like cranks up to like hundreds of people, and
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh!"
I thought about giving away
Yeah.
a fillet knife tonight, and then I was like, nah, not on a smallmouth feed.
Why not?
Well, it's great for trim. It's great for filleting smallmouth.
Yeah.
It's great.
What's
It's
the
great for
difference?
filleting.
It's too big for fillet.
No, the problem is no
You
one
need a
knows we're
7-inch.
starting. We only have 100 people watching right now. Is because we actually started on time. Here come the comments. What's
Can
up?
they hear me
Good
fine,
evening,
Clint, with
Jim.
the way where my mic is?
Great fishing
Probably.
with you today. That was a freaking beatdown.
Aaron, see ya.
I turned in because I support addictive fishing no matter what. Oh, thank you, Brett. Caught my PB on Saturday, says Sean. I'm just here to learn something new in the sport of fishing, says Shane Ross. Beautiful.
Love it.
Fish on, says Kevin. Anthony Turner. Oh my gosh, the comments are flying. Caught my PB. Yeah. How big was that PB? Because if you're talking bass fishing, you have to talk PB.
PB.
PB. It's all about the PBs. It's all about the PBs.
What's my biggest fish?
PB. Plug my PB. My PB on a jig. My PB on a jerkbait. My PB on a I fish
Spinnerbait.
everywhere.
Yes, Paul, I'm good.
Yes, we can
I'm good,
hear
Ray
you.
Paul.
I don't like winter bassing.
I'm excited to show you guys little
Hood River,
some sneak
great.
peeks. Oh, Clint, you should go get. Did you get?
Oh.
Yeah, we need a knife.
Yeah.
Clint? Can you grab it for me, please, out of my truck?
Or there's that one lane in the shop.
There's one in the back seat of my truck.
PB&J. TJ, yeah. PB&J. There you go. Yeah. 1.3 pound largie.
Yeah.
Hey. It's
So
your PB,
guys,
it's your PB.
there's a bunch of people. You probably don't know who this is. They're like, who's this guy in the center of you guys? Tom, introduce yourself.
I'm Tom Hartshorn, the oddball out here tonight.
No, oddball out here. So we brought Tom in because, as you can see, his hair's a lot grayer than ours, which means he has a lot more experience catching smallmouth than we do.
Yes.
So we thought we better bring in a pro so we can really teach you guys what's up.
Now he's overstating it.
Well, Tom is responsible for like basically my addiction into like kind of the tournament and kind of club scene. Tom and I actually spent the weekend fishing the Drain Raider Open and
getting our
fishing
brains
all
beat
that.
out.
Yeah, getting our brains
You guys
beat out
got
by the
destroyed?
wind. What's that?
Did you guys place?
We took third.
Third.
Nice.
In that field,
That's some good anglers in that field.
Yes.
It was the wind was
Who took
brutal.
first?
Jimmy Binge.
Jimmy Binge.
And guess who took second?
Who?
Daryl Burkhart.
Yeah.
But guess how much we were out of the first by? 0.6 pounds.
Oh, I knew it was gonna be something.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was so tight. And dude, like the field was like, because those anglers in that field and that open were like, there was like 10 people that were just sandwiched. And
Yeah.
we had to make some moves. And anyways, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But anyways, Tom Hartshorn, everybody. We're gonna talk a lot.
We're gonna talk
of smallmouth stuff because it is a great time of year for it. Honestly, any time from March till November, at least for us in the Columbia River, is a great time for it. So anyways, we're going to get into that. So if you guys have questions and you want to get into it, we brought some rods, we brought reels, we brought some good examples. We also have the summer drop coming on Sunday.
Yes.
And that's what Marlon's here for, because there's some really cool, some stuff that I haven't even seen, and Nick killed some custom colors there. Anyways, we'll get into that here.
Yeah, so we're gonna sneak peek them. I didn't bring everything from the summer drop because I'm sure a lot of you guys don't want to sit here and talk and see all the products all night. So I did bring a good little selection of some of the stuff from the summer drop. And to kick things off, we're gonna go ahead and just give away some stuff from the summer drop. So you will be one of the first people to have it. So we got one of the new hats here, guys. We worked on a bunch of new hats. We have a lot of 4th of July themed stuff. You can't really see it, it's dark, but this hat turned out really sick. And then one of the flashers that Nick designed, one of the new custom addicted flashers. As always, guys, go to side cam so we can actually see stuff.
Yeah, there's some crazy tape he's got going on there. I haven't seen that. That's pretty dope.
Hold it at a different angle.
Yeah, you go. You can kind of. That's pretty dope. It caught my eye. I'll buy it, guaranteed. I like the thin strip.
Yeah, the thin strip.
That's becoming a thing.
That has been a thing. I've seen a lot of really good fishing guides doing that for a while now. And Nick's kind of had it under his belt for a little bit, and we got it on a custom now.
And that's something beautiful about flashers, because whenever somebody has a fish on, everyone's watching. You see the flasher flashing in the air,
and you're like, "What's that guy got on?"
Oh, and then you know exactly what color they're using, so you see more and more of it. Yeah. Little chartreuse never hurt for Chinook, that's for sure.
And then there's the hat, guys, that you couldn't see because it was too dark.
That is a killer looking hat.
So again, guys, we have a whole bunch of 4th of July themed stuff in the drop since it's so close to the 4th of July. We designed some really cool new stuff. And so for this prize pack, just to start out, guys, we're going to give away one of the custom flashers, and we're going to give away one of the custom drop hats. If you guys could do us a huge favor and thumbs up the video, please go thumbs up the video on YouTube, on Facebook. Share it out there, guys. Facebook and YouTube have been just hating us lately. So you guys got to share these things out there for us. Share it out there. Drop some comments. Get some thumbs up. Get some engagement going here. And we're going to randomly select someone from the comments to win this first prize pack here in a couple minutes.
Yeah. Bass questions for Tom, or whether you're a beginning angler, an advanced angler, anything like that. Fire them up. I already got a couple that we're going to line up, and we're going to talk anything from rods, reels, basic 101, like locating and targeting them, and to catching, and to trying to stay on them year round. And I mean, how many fish did we catch this weekend in that tournament?
Oh gosh, at least 100. We probably balance beamed 50.
Yeah, a lot of culling, post spawn, a lot of 3 1/4 pounders. But I can tell you, the point of that, the takeaway of that was, 100 fish. Like,
what's a bass?
Not even a question. And we're trying to target bigger fish. We're throwing bigger baits. You kind of approach it a little different than if we're out there to just trying to just get numbers.
Yeah.
Trying to. If you were trying to get numbers, I don't even know.
Bang.
Just throwing small tubes and small jigs and dragging. Oh God, you could catch 100 a day. So
easily.
Just let you guys know kind of what you could potentially be working with in the Columbia. A lot of fun. So yeah, let's see here. I need to get some stuff. Been talking to my grandkids fishing. They're hooked. Need bait. White marshmallows. Sure. Best all around rod. We'll talk about that. First things first, guys. Want to give a huge shout out to Stevens Marine for, of course, as always, sponsoring this live feed. We did Bash down there a couple weeks ago. It was a good time.
It's a really good time.
Always, check them out for any of your boating needs for sure, and the largest selection of fish fighter stuff. I had to grab some stuff while I was in there. I'm like, oh, new stuff. Yeah. Anyways,
Fish Fighter's always innovating, coming out with cool stuff.
Yep. Huge shout out, Stevens Marine. Someone asked if we're talking bass tomorrow night. Yes, Jeff, that is what the bash is all about. We are only talking about bass at the Fisherman in Delta Park. I'm kidding.
But with that being said,
for tonight's show,
tomorrow from 6 to 9 p.m., we will be in Delta Park at Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. We hope a bunch of you guys show up there. So there you go, June 27th, which is tomorrow. Show up early, guys. I would get there at 5 if I was you, or earlier if you want. It's going to be a good night. I know Fisherman's Marine is doing some really special deals the night of the bash. We're going to have tons of giveaways. You're going to have another opportunity to win the Clacker Craft Drift Boat. You'll get another raffle ticket for the bash series throughout the year. And yeah, it's going to be a really, really good time. So hope to see a bunch of you guys there.
So excited for summer bass fishing with the family and the new
Forerunner. I was just reading that.
Hopper, the smallies getting hot. Yeah. We hope you have fillet knives with the raffles.
We probably won't, Mills. I
feel like we maybe will bring one there, but I can feel just how limited those things are for the first round, guys. It took an act of Congress, but depending on the drop on June 30th at 7 p.m., we'll get them coming again. So we'll see how you guys think, what you guys think about them, all that good stuff.
Yeah, guys, there's 200 in the first drop. We might as well just show them now that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Go side cam. So this is the box they're going to come in. We called it the Addicted Advantage fillet knife. We've seen all the comments, a bunch of people asking how much they were going to be. I was still trying to dial in what we were going to charge for them. They will be $239, guys. $239 for the fillet knife. And you're going to see why. We put a lot of time and effort into creating and making this fillet knife. I actually didn't, but Cam did. So he's going to pull it out and talk about it.
You guys have seen it. We've talked about this in live feeds, but we just wanted to show you some of the packaging. And this is the actual Kydex sheath that it's going to come with. As you can see, the blade, everything from the engraving too. You guys can see the engraving there. The camera sucks, but there's some focus in there. And this is Marlon's personal one. This is number 200 of 200, so I'm sure he can auction that thing off later on.
Yeah, so the cool thing is, guys, on this first round that we did mark them first edition. We did number each one of them. And every single one of the boxes.
Oh, gosh. You made me do that.
Every single one of the boxes is actually hand-signed by Cam. So
I am proud of him.
That is only going to be on this first edition, guys. We will probably not do that again. That's just going to be on this first round.
Again.
That will not. But we're really excited about these guys. A lot of work and time and effort went into these things. We worked with a couple different manufacturers to make these knives, and we're stoked how they turned out. So,
yep.
Homeless guy is already out, camped out, waiting to be the first person.
Hope not. Off the side cam. I'm there with the knife. Yeah, Jim, you got to see me slice up a whole bunch of steelhead with them. Yeah. I'm proud of them, guys. They work great. I've used them for a year. I'm more confident in them than just about anything else. Yeah. Ben, sure.
Yes, the knives are U.S. made. Yeah. They're made in the USA by a veteran-owned company out of California called 𝗛𝗘𝗟 Knives. Yep. Really awesome company to work with right here in the USA.
Yep. Just in time. You'll get them for Buoy 10.
Exactly.
And fall salmon season. So if you, yeah. Anyways, if you've been in my boat the last year, you've seen me, hopefully, fillet your fish. Okay.
Yeah.
Get off the knife. What else we got?
What else we got? Well, should we show some other stuff? Well, let's pick a winner first here, Clint.
Whoa.
Let's pick a winner here. Pick a winner for the first prize back.
You fish smallmouth in lakes ever, or primarily Columbia River? We'll talk about it.
There it is. Here, fishy, Northwest. Yeah, see, that's what Facebook is screwing us, dude. They're not sending Facebook notifications. They're not sending notifications to our followers. And we have the largest following on Facebook now that we've ever had. We have over 300,000 followers on Facebook. And for some reason, they're just not pushing our feeds.
What about making a post about it right now?
Maybe.
Like on the forum, like right now.
I posted one when I scheduled it on the forum.
No, like like take this feed and shove it into the main group right now.
Put it on now.
Yeah.
Like now, while it's live now.
Maybe.
Let's try that.
Forum or on the?
On the actual page, not the forum. The page.
Paul wants just an empty box with Cam's autograph.
That's gonna be 3. Clint had me sign it. You guys are jerks. You guys are jerks.
All right, well, congratulations. Here, fishy. Shoot us an email.
It raise the value of the box.
Shoot us an email to orders@addicted.fishing. Include your name, your address. Let us know that you won the hat and the flasher, and we'll get it out to you.
Yeah, I don't get notifications. Yeah, so like, let's just post it, like, just in the page with that 300,000 people in there.
I think it'll have to be Marlon. I don't think I can post it.
Oh, I think.
Yeah, I'll do it, but just side cam. We'll just, should we do it? No, let's just do this real quick. Let's rip through this.
I'd get that post out if I were you. I'd get that post out. Let's. Oh my goodness. Okay,
we're gonna rip through this fast.
Okay. Super fast, guys. Just drop preview. Shirts. Bam.
Okay, so guys, these are the custom UPFs that we had made. So these are actually fully custom made, sewn, sublimated, printed. They are UPF sun protection. They have a built-in neck gaiter to protect you from the wind and the sun. We actually had the inner tag is also printed with Addicted. They turned out really good, guys. I'm freaking stoked with how they turned out. We got ADX on the back here. We also have stuff on the sleeves.
I love the print because you guys already know, like all you salmon guys that are going to be wearing these out there steelheading and whatnot, like what's going to happen. Things get messy out there.
And there's 4 different ones of those guys. They're all designed the same with the neck gaiter and everything, just different designs. So we got the camo gray one. These two are some of my favorite. The white camo one turned out really good.
Sick. Nice summertime shirts.
I'm not even like showing
No,
you.
yeah, you're good. It's all right. You can see them.
And then this one's probably my personal favorite. We did like a topo map.
That's just an awesome concept.
Topo map, and then we got like, you know, the Pacific Northwest trees on the bottom. I'm stoked with how that turned out. So
That one
those
needs
are the
to say
summer
bass on it.
UPFs.
Yeah, no kidding.
Whole bunch of new hats, guys. We're just gonna rip through them. This one's one of my favorite.
Free to fish,
We did the
baby.
free to fish design.
Except for in Washington when they
Yeah, exactly.
We won't talk about that.
We got it on the American flag. Turned out pretty dope. This one's really nice. I like that one, just kind of like the Carhartt color. Couple of those. This one's been really popular. We did basically like a puff hook on the top.
You can see it, yeah. Sick.
Turned out really good. And then we did one with an orange hook.
Ah,
Turned out really cool.
Right?
There's some bait towels, guys. We won't show. We're just gonna show one of them. This one's sick. So we actually had this drawn. Look at how we had the eagle holding a steelhead, just like you would like if you were holding it.
Actually doing it.
Yeah. Pretty dope.
Great to hide taco sauce strips.
Now let's show some of the stuff that you guys really want to see.
Yeah, guys, close sockeye before I catch what was going to
So-
go Saturday. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
This design
Crackle.
is something I'm really excited about. We worked really long and hard to get this crackle paint to show up how we wanted it on these plugs. So I think there's 100 of these. Yeah, there's 100 of these mag lips
Yeah, good luck trying to do that one.
numbered. And then this one's also crackle. It turned out absolutely sick. Also limited to 100. Then we got the blue twist super bait. Original cut plug. I'm not sure what these are numbered to. These are only numbered to 50, so there's only 50 of these guys. They got the orange strip on the bottom. This one is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Mini cut plug. I've never really seen anything that's got that like brilliant of cerise. You see it in like steelhead jigs sometimes and stuff, but not really on any plugs. So I'm really stoked with that. And then on the bottom, we also did like a strip of cerise on the bottom.
The mag lips are 4.0s, guys.
Yeah, 4.0s on the mag lips. Everything is highly limited, guys. We've kind of stuck with the limited aspect instead of doing a lot of them because it seems like that's what you guys like the most. So we
That
got
glow
the
is
Mexican
insane.
hat glow. I got some pictures. I'll post of these underneath like a UV light and in a glow and in the dark, and they look freaking insane. So these ones are numbered to 85. Another 4.5 mag lip that we designed.
Beautiful.
These
I like
ones-
that chrome yellow. You can't. The other camera's kind of doing it justice. That chrome yellow and then the solid yellow.
Yeah, really cool. We did some trout spinners again with North Fork Lures, so we got a couple different designs of trout spinners coming. We got a bunch of new like summer steelhead themed worm colors. Some really unique stuff that we've never seen before. Yeah, and guys are gonna buy them for smallmouth
well,
too.
yes, just about to say
At
something.
the Sportsman Show, all the worm drop that we came out with, everyone was buying for smallmouth.
I had a package of them here.
These are the ones that these guys liked.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, where did I had the other? I had another pack of.
Oh, here's the other trout spinner. Turned out really sick. Everything's limited, guys. So again, it's 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the website. We have a whole bunch of new flashers that Nick designed. New beads. This one turned out absolutely sick. Something you guys have been asking for forever now. We got license plate covers and they're metal. So these are really high quality metal license plate covers. So, a request that we've had forever now, it seems like. Yeah.
I'm just like showing the box and just all this stuff.
And then as you can see, like there's tons of new apparel, guys. I'm not going to open any of these or go through any of the stuff yet. We got boat floaties.
That's cool.
That same eagle design we put on a shirt.
You have to look. You're gonna have to look.
Yeah, so you guys got to just go to the drop. We're not going to go through each one of these. We do have beads again. I think Cam already showed some, but we have beads. And again, guys, this is just a small sample size of what's in the drop. Like I said, this literally is the biggest one we've done. We have killerfish, we have maglets, we have super baits, we have wigglers.
A lot of people are excited with the trout spinner.
We have trout spinners. We also have, like I said last week, we have designed finally our own addicted spinner in collaboration with R&B. We actually had a custom, our own body made that's a center weighted design, something that's not really been done in the spinner market. I think you guys are really going to like it. We put a lot of work into it. So I'm excited for you guys to see those too. So there is salmon and steelhead spinners as well in the drop. I just don't have any right now because we're still waiting to get them from R&B. But
they better hurry.
Yeah, it's coming quick. But as you guys can see, ton of stuff. I'm excited for you guys to all see it. Mark your calendars. A lot of these plugs, like I said, we are going to limit the plugs. It'll be probably 1 per person on some of them, maybe 2. Because I know some of you guys like to like hang one on your wall and then fish one. So we might try to do 2 per person, but I don't know yet. We're going to have to keep them limited for people for sure. So don't get mad at me if you're not on there at 7 p.m. Some guy's like, that's why I don't buy any of your addicted stuff, because you make it too limited and I can never get any of it. And I'm like, well, sorry, dude. We're doing the best we can. But
I have to get on and order it, and I can order it.
Clint gets it. So there you guys go. There's a quick sneak peek. Now we got to talk green slime fish.
We'll touch on the
ditch
sockeye
pickles.
things real quick, guys. I can already tell you why it's closing and what's going on. And I just saw the announcement today. So tomorrow for below Bonneville, I think is what it stayed to. Sockeye retention is going to close, and it is kind of crazy just because the numbers that we're seeing going over the dam, but because of the mechanism. Let me just pull it up real fast. Because of the mechanism on why, we fish to a forecast. And until there's been an official upgrade of those numbers, we cannot, once basically we fish to that forecast. So if the forecast was, let's just say a number. I can't even remember what it was. Whatever X was, we're allowed to catch so many fish based on X, even though it might be X times 3 what's really showing up over the dam, until TAC actually upgrades the run and gives us more fish and says, oh, the run is not going to come in the forecast. It's going to come in substantially higher. Those fish are not on the table to be caught. It's really kind of lame how slow, the department can react. However, we also, when we do see the numbers of fish in the lower Columbia that came through, we also see the catch rate completely blow out what they thought we were going to catch based on the forecast, right? There's more fish to catch, therefore we catch more. So I guarantee you that's why. I have no idea if they're going to readdress it later. I don't know how far we've blown over that quota, but it sounds like tomorrow is the last day for sockeye retention in the Columbia River. What are you getting?
I don't know. I'm going to order something.
Sure. Do it. So anyways, guys, it sucks. Cam, are those numbers just counted on the Oregon side combined? You know what? They're going to use their system for what they think the catch has been, extrapolate it out. You know how, we've all done this song and dance before. It just sucks because, obviously there's been just some hellacious numbers of sockeye going over. And so if I have to listen to one more East Sider bitch about the fact that we catch all those springers down here, even though they're opening spring Chinook seasons that fish that will never even go there. They were catching Willamette fish. The East Side guys cry because, they're having another extension. Well, here you go. You're about to have a freaking 500,000 sockeye, bunch of summer Chinook, stuff like that we're going to get closed down on probably more like technicalities than actual fish numbers, and they're all going to swim right past, and you're going to catch them. And I'm glad you do. So I'll listen to it. Yep. So, do you want to talk about that some more?
About the
Do
salmon?
you have any idea what the hell we're even talking about?
No.
No. Tom basically goes salmon and steel fishing when he go, Tom, it's really good. We should go catch bunch of steelhead or a bunch of salmon, and then he goes and we catch them. Yeah, it's good.
That's the nice thing about bass fishing. It never closes.
Yeah, look at the spring run on the snake. Case in point, it's just part of the game. Sometimes it works out for the guys below Bonneville. Sometimes it works out for the guys above. It is good news that they've probably under forecasted or maybe looked at that. I don't really know. I haven't really been paying attention. Honestly, guys, I've been steelhead fishing and bass fishing with this guy, and I haven't even been paying attention to it. Just because.
Doesn't it change year to year and get better some
it
years?
Changes day to day.
So
Yeah.
you never. It's kind of a guessing game, isn't it? For the whole thing.
Some fuzzy math.
I had someone that knows this fishery well said that there's going to be over 1 million sockeye.
Over 1 million sockeye. I will say this, and then we're going to get off this sockeye subject because we're here to talk bass. But I remember a few years ago, Sam Baird, rest his soul, like literally told me at the Sportsman show, he goes, I don't give a crap what this department says. They are wrong on the forecast. They're purposely botching it down. He's like, they are absolutely screwing us. He's like, there will be, I can't remember what he said, 600. He's like, there'll be 3 times the amount of sake forecast. And I'm like, oh, okay, Sam, we're all talking at the Sportsman show, Sam, okay, whatever. Dude, he pinned it, pegged it, called it, like 3-point from the hat. I mean, just drilled it. Absolutely called it. So, like, whatever those guys are using, like, to kind of, like, think about whether they're looking at releasing, our water release, smolt release, whatever it was, they pinned it. So I would have loved to hear his take on that. Unfortunately, we don't get to
that now.
Yeah. So,
God rest
but
his
anyways,
soul.
Anyways, so Sam, we missed you, but we would have loved to get your take on the sockeye run because it's Anyways, it is what it is. Common Core fishing math. Yeah, Richard S. That is exactly how to say it. So, anyways, all right. Bass fishing questions, guys. Bass fishing.
Yeah.
You got me involved in this. Went out. We about 4 years ago, guys. Just to let you know where we kind of got to meet Tom. 4 years ago. We
did a addicted tournament, and shortly after that, I met with you and Layden, and we went out and had a great day. Top water. Layden smoked them on a couple of baits.
Like this big instead of this big.
He was 10 years old?
Yeah.
10, 11?
Yeah, so we got to meet Tom in a video that we filmed for YouTube. We did a little bass fishing competition and filmed it. It's actually up there. That video has to be 4 or 5 years old now. Yeah. Went out there with a bunch of anglers. Of course, Tom won it. Killed it with a couple giant fish. I can't even remember what the weights were, but caught like more than we could even think about. And then we started talking, and he's like, have you ever seen like the topwater bite for smallies in July and August? Like, actually, no, I never have. Like this is 4 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
So Layden and I hopped in the boat with Tom and went out topwater fishing for smallies and caught, I don't even know.
It was a crazy day.
Crazy day. Caught 40, 50 fish like in the morning. Big smallies. Crashing.
Yeah.
Topwater baits in the middle of the summer, and it went all day.
Yes.
Like that's the thing. Like people think topwater is just kind of a
early morning thing.
Like,
no,
really, no. In the Columbia River, it was like an all-day affair. And what are you breaking over there?
Breaking everything over here. Good Lord.
And caught all the time. And basically, kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different aspects of that fishery. And then started fishing tournaments together.
Yes.
And then within a year, just said, "Oh no, I've got to get a boat and get into this." And my son's into it more than anything else.
I think we won our first tournament we ever fished together.
Yeah, it's fishing some club stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's now basically my wife hates Tom because he got me into this. So, yeah,
sorry, Lex.
Yeah. So either way, here we are. But as always, with a lot of the stuff we want to show you guys, like a lot of people don't know and don't understand these bass fisheries. So if you guys have a lot of cool questions, we got some rods and reels that we can talk about some of the differences, of different techniques and some easy stuff to use and even some more advanced stuff. Whether you're just chucking spinner baits or whether you are throwing jigs on the bottom or anything like that. So, what do people need to get started? What's your favorite? What Marlon asked in the podcast right now. Favorite lure. If your life depended on it, you had to go out and catch 5. We'll just make it easy. 5 smallmouth in the Columbia River tomorrow. Only 5. He'll catch 100, but only 5. What would your lure be?
A jig.
A jig. What kind of jig?
A hula grub.
Talk about the jig. Talk about what you're looking for. Just give an idea.
I'm pretty basic with a jig. I like the Yamamoto hula grubs, the twin tail 5-inch, and
which I did not bring one.
I personally like them on a 1/2 ounce or 3/8, depending on the current amount of current that's going through the river, or 3/4 is about the max I ever go.
Yeah.
But you just throw a hula grub out there and let them fish work it.
So for smallmouth on the Columbia, we're going to talk about smallmouth. This is a summer bass fishing. So if you want to talk largemouth and lakes, we're going to be down at a tournament this weekend. fishing largemouth. But what he's talking about, guys, is anything that's like a half-ounce jig. I've got a little jig head here, and I don't have an exact hula grub. Go side cam, Clint. I don't have a hula grub, but I have.
You haven't plugged it.
Oh, no, we're good.
We're good.
So basically, this is what he's talking about. Little half-ounce jig head, and this isn't a hula grub. This is an ecto-craw, but one of my favorite little craw baits on the Columbia River smallmouth feed on a ton of crayfish right now, whether you're in the upper Willamette, Multnomah Channel. And they are, I mean, every damn fish we were putting in the line.
Well, spitting out crawdads.
Spitting out crawdads right now. It's just the time of year for them. I think they eat crawdads about 10 months out of the year. I see people commenting like, oh, Ned, grub on the Columbia. Yeah. So what we're going to do here, I like curly tail grubs. Yeah, there's the thing about the smallmouth on the Columbia, guys. Man, they will eat just about everything and anything. Like, they really will. I've got every lure in there, every jig in there, every bait in there. They're going to eat them at some point in time. But for the guys that are looking real specific, you want to narrow down, you want to get a little spattering of gear to go out and give it a try. Half-ounce jig head and some kind of craw bait, the Yamamoto hula grub, any of the Rage, some of the Rage craws. No, there's Ryan Hennessy. My level is full of those craws. Exactly. Full of these craws, probably that exact color too, huh, Ryan? I poured that one myself.
I was gonna say, what color is that, Cam? Where do you get
Cameron
that?
color?
This is how many.
Let me see this color.
This is how many craw baits I use, because I actually got to the point where it's like it was just so much more economical for me to just start pouring my baits in the wintertime, because that little guy right there will catch smallmouth like freaking crazy. But a couple of things I want to show you guys.
Anthony Turner's asking upper or lower Columbia. Personally, Anthony, I prefer the upper Columbia. There's smallmouth up and down in the lower Columbia too, but I personally prefer the upper.
Yeah, if you guys go above, so one thing like the smallmouth, we talked about this a little bit in the live feed, but if you're looking for smallmouth areas, right, they do like current, but I don't think they really like heavy tidal current. So like the lower Columbia, when things start washing out in the sands and stuff, it gets a little tougher. You got to go, if you're below Bonneville, you got to get kind of more into the backwaters, more into the side channels, more into those rocky areas that are out of the blasting current. But these fish will also go and feed right below the spillway of a dam. So it's kind of like if you're looking for areas that you're kind of new and you want to try above Bonneville, above Dalles, above John Day, above McNary dams, are some great areas. Those currents are slowed down just by the dams. And those are great areas to kind of start to learn, but don't think that they're not. There's smallmouth bass in Cathlamet, guys. There's smallmouth bass in Astoria somewhere. Like they're down there.
Oh, yeah.
They're down there.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a
they're all up and
there's
down
a
the
whole
Columbia.
tournament series based on.
Oh, we should make a video down there.
Yeah, there's a tournament. There's a club down there
Brackish
called Brackish Bass. Largemouth and smallmouth.
Do they catch pretty good ones?
They catch big ones. Like their weights
Big
are
largies.
sometimes 20 to 22 pounds mixed in with some big largies. And they do tournaments like out of like Wana and Cathlamet and like, yeah, lower river.
Well, they're probably fishing some of those sloughs down there.
They are.
I'm talking like the main. Is there anything in the main?
The main, I feel like in that lower area, you probably want to stay out of the main because those big, heavy 10-foot tidal currents really kind of shove them out of there.
Yeah, so there's
But above Bonneville, guys, if you're learning, no brainer. Now, let's get back to this jig. So give you guys just kind of the rundown and get some ideas. What you're going to do, Tom, throw that jig on that. I'll hold the camera for you guys. Super simple, super basic.
It's pretty simple. Kind of line it up, make sure the hook's where it's going to come out. So this may not be
It might be a
perfect.
little big because I didn't bring any more of them, but you get the idea. Yeah,
And then just thread it through, slide it up. And basically a hula grub is going to have a skirt over the top of it. So you basically have a skirt and it's going to look like that.
Yeah, lay it back down there just to show people, guys. So you're talking about something that's not, and like I said, that's not perfect. I actually pulled it off another jig. But something like that, a little half ounce. And this is an exposed hook jig. I'm going to show you guys a Texas rig here in just a moment. This little guy will get it done. What's nice about these is that when smallmouth pick them up, that hook point's exposed, and it doesn't take too much of a hook set to drill a fish home.
That's sharp.
That point's hanging out there. Yeah, if the hook's sharp. That hook's hanging out there. And then somebody asked too, is like, well, how do you fish these? And one thing that Tom always talks about, and one thing that you taught me, is a lot of guys like really overwork
'em.
these. Like, what is this on here, Claire? You on it?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I need Marlon to be able to do it, but I'm trying.
Marlon! Anyways, a lot of people, when it comes to jig fishing, they think, like, especially on the Columbia. Have you seen Tom set the hook? Yeah, he still sets a hook, Craig. But a lot of people think, like, when you cast this jig out and you throw it out, it falls to the bottom, it hits the bottom, that now you've got to do some real advanced twitching and moving techniques. Someone asked, pop them like tubes, lift and fall, drag them. Less is almost more. If you drag an open-faced hook on the lower Columbia with all the rocks and all the weeds and just slowly drag this thing, it's going to find somewhere that it's not going to drag out of.
Yes.
You're going to go through some jigs.
Yeah.
So one thing you want to do is, I like to do is like what Tom taught me is like throw it out, let it fall. The action of that jig falling into that smallmouth kind of area, he's going to react to it.
Right.
He's going to react to it. He's going to sense it. He's going to do it. A lot of times they're going to hit it. Sometimes they hit it on the fall, hits the bottom, sits there for a second, bam, they'll hit it. But if you lift this up, just give it what? 1, 2 lifts, couple feet?
I generally just kind of lift it and let the current push it. So if I'm fishing a seam, I'll let the current push the jig and keep up with the slack and just keep in contact. A lot of times, feel the rock, feel the free fall, feel the bite, and then just rip the lips.
Yeah. Hatting out, making bottom contact, lifting it upper foot, letting the current pull around, fall again. And a lot of times if you're in that area, he's going to bite it pretty darn quick. The one thing about the smallmouth is if you do something right, whether you put the right jig, the right color, the right something in front of him, he's going to react to him. These are some other styles of jigs here that I brought. These are kind of more your skirted jigs with the heads, and they will work absolutely in the same way too. They have a little more action, a little more movement.
Yeah, on a jig like this, if I was fishing this, one of the things, especially taking a trailer like this and putting it on there, really to help this jig out, you'd want to cut some of the skirt down, and that's going to really help this jig work a lot better and flare out a little more.
Fish will be picking up, towards the head of the hook instead of grabbing the tail.
Right.
And there's a lot of little intricacies to that, to like these jigs, guys. Like, we just kind of like threw that on there, but there's a million different like styles of heads and different colors and what. I don't even know how many of these other jig heads I have.
Yeah, my favorite is a football head. Probably all I carry in my boat anymore is a football head jig.
Yep, football head, jig heads. Like, so there's a lot of different ways to do it. Kind of like a lot of personal preferences as far as like colors and kind of like styles and what you do. What kind of knot do you use to tie it onto your line? You're always a Palomar guy, yeah.
All day long.
Yeah, he's a Palomar guy. I do an improved clinch on a lot of my stuff, but just a basic knot. This isn't, there's something to be said that you could, do like the Rapala knot and loop knots on jigs to make them have a little more kind of like flutter down. But when we're talking like the smallmouth and the Columbia, just a good solid tie, because you're going to be banging that on the bottom. You're going to be working it against rocks, and you're not necessarily going to want a weaker knot. The wobble football head jig is unmatched. You know what? I have some of those in my muskie. Yeah, why do you like this football style heads versus the round heads?
Personally, on the river, they tend to get snagged a little less than a round head will.
A little wider.
A little wider in the head. They'll bounce over things a little bit better. Not to mention, they have a tendency to be able to stand up. You get that bait on there, and they'll stand up when you pull them over. So, which basically puts this into a fighting position. Makes these things stand up. So, basically why I prefer the football head. Not to mention, the success rate of a football head.
What if you can't feel the drop in your rod when you use a jig? What's another way to tell?
One of the old school trick, keep your finger on your line at all times. You'll feel that slight little tick and vibration through the line. So if you're holding a rod, bait caster, for example.
Go offside cam for a second. Screw it, we're gonna show. We can show this here real quick. I've got to tell you it's swimming away, and then you
Set the hook.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
say, Clint, you got one. Set the hook. Oh, good. I have a Texas rig here. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, it's Cam's favorite setup.
Yeah, I'm a Texas rig guy. Tom's an open face guy, but I can be honest with you guys, Tom catches a whole lot more than I do, so I'd probably go with that. So show people like how they're holding the line on that rod real quick.
We're already hooked up. I don't want to set the hook.
Don't set the hook.
So basically, you're palming the reel like this. So, and you just keep your finger and let that line run over your finger. So, and my suggestion is to start. So see how that finger is. So when you get that little bite, you feel it right in your finger. You feel it through everything. It's sending a vibration right into you.
Yeah. And Richard says, someone said, get a new rod. So there is something to be said, like, and we'll talk about, we got a lot of different rods here. There's something to be said with having rods that are really sensitive, and something to be said to having rods that are a little softer, that are more for like your spinnerbait and crankbait rods, because sometimes the rods,
get that thing stuck in there.
The materials that they make the real sensitive rods out there aren't necessarily the best for like throwing spinnerbaits or for throwing like some softer crankbaits. You can get real specific. Tom's going to break his rods here, so you know.
Yeah, it's Cam's rod.
Yeah, there we go. Are you giving that away? No.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so. Yeah, the other thing too, the other thing is also watching the line. So a lot of my rods and reels, with my jig fishing, I'll tie about 10 feet of a 12-pound bumper, but then I use our bright orange addicted braid, and I can just sometimes just sit and watch it. And if you're in like real windy conditions and you're really trying to like detect, like using every advantage you can to feel the strike is sometimes necessary on the Columbia River, because whether you're putting your finger underneath that line, trying to detect it that way, trying to visually see it with like some high vis line. I know I'm saying I got to put my high vis in there because Tom will fish straight fluoro, and he can do it. I can't. I got to use some sight and some additional feel there.
And rods make a difference. I mean,
100%.
You know, so if you're finesse fishing, using jigs, worms, you know, plastics in general, sensitivity is the game. So the more sensitive your rod is, the better off you're going to be, because you're going to feel that slight little thing.
Richard.
What did he say?
Nothing. Are you
get a new rod? Yeah, I've seen that.
About that.
But so the sensitivity of the rod is the most important thing in my book. There's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, you're not putting it, this type of fishing, you're not putting it in a rod holder and waiting for it to bite. So
not waiting for somebody to just slam it.
Yeah, but with that said, though, too, like there's also like different lures and stuff we'll talk about here in a minute, like some spinner baits and crankbaits where you actually want a little softer rod, and the fish, it's more of a reaction bait where when the fish decides to hit it, it's not like, oh, I'm picking it up off the bottom and trying to swim away. It's like out of left field, bam, and you're gonna get a bite. So. But before we get off jigs, though, real quick, I do want to talk about kind of my favorite jig, my favorite rig, which is a Texas rig. Because I just hate retying 150,000 times in the Columbia River. But this right here is kind of my juice that I'll fish a lot of. Go side cam, Clint. Just wanted to kind of set that up. And basically what I've got here is the same kind of crawbait. It's an ecto craw. It's a little 3-4 inch craw. Lots of different ones out there. Like we were talking about the Yamamoto grubs and stuff. That's one that I pour. I got a little 1/2 ounce bullet head on here because we had to use a little heavier weight, even though we were fishing pretty shallow. You know, the way the wind was just awful.
Getting it down.
Just getting it down. And if you fish too light of a jig and the wind's blowing across you really hard, even if you cast out and drop that rod tip down, try to get that jig to sink, man, the wind will pull the line and prevent that jig from going to the fish. So I was using a 1/2 ounce here a lot. I've got it pegged with a little bobber stop just up in front.
Is that tungsten?
This is a tungsten weight. I was going to say you don't have to use tungsten.
Right.
But tungsten, I'm telling you guys, like,
it adds a little more sensitivity.
It adds a little more sensitivity, but frick, it hurts when you lose them. It stings a little bit every time.
Wallet.
Yep. And then I've got I can't remember what they call this hook, but it's a flipping hook. Thank you.
Yep.
Flipping hook that the point is buried And the big takeaway difference between these two jig setups for the Columbia is that the point is buried in this one and not in this. So if I get picked up by a fish on this guy and he grabs it, I have to absolutely crack the hook set. Because what I'm trying to do with my hook set is I'm dragging this through rocks and weeds, and it's a weedless bait, so it gets through a lot of stuff. But since that hook point is buried in the plastic, if you're into setting the hook, that guy right there, you try to set the hook so hard that it pulls that plastic down away, and you guys can see, I'll get away from that Kong thing, and exposes the hook point and then drives the hook home into the fish. But again, I think your hookup ratio is way better on an open face jig, but I lose less and I retie less. So I guess that's the great debate. Tom fishes really those.
Right.
And I fish those. And yeah, I guess there's a couple ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, no, there's all of it works. You just got to get the right presentation to the fish. Color matters, presentation matters. But everybody will catch something on anything. I mean, you can take some things that are just god awful, and people will catch fish on them.
Go off side cam. So let's tackle this before we get into the next lure, because Shane asked a great question. And man, this is the frustrating part about bass. Do bass know if something is natural, or are they just dumb enough to eat anything?
That's a great question, because I don't really have an answer. Because
I
sometimes
have an answer. Are you kidding me? Let's talk about that tournament you and I fished way upriver, where those fish were feeding on minnows. 4-pounders were jumping out of the water from me to the camera away from the boat and laughing at us, watching them on the live. Like, so there are times where fish will just key in, and especially
on bait.
Bigger, smarter fish will key in on what they're hitting. And if a lot of whatever they're eating is in the area, the fish just tune into that. And that's what they're going to target.
They're keyed into it, yeah.
And so whether you're fishing, so right now, we're just telling you guys just from last weekend, a lot of crawbaits were getting it done. We did catch some on some small swims. But because there's always some minnows and small jerk baits. But right now, that was what was in the live well. So we were catering to that. Now, whether or not it's this jig or this jig or these jigs on the bottom, the fish are looking down. The fish were kind of keying in on that. And there's pretty much not a time in the Columbia River where at least the smaller fish aren't rooting around in the bottom looking for crawdads.
Right.
Looking for something on the bottom.
Yeah. Crawdads are probably the number one bait for bass in general. Yeah. I mean, they eat anything that swims pretty much, but...
Yeah, especially salmon smolts.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially salmon smolts. So yeah, there is some aggression to that. There is some territorial aspect to that too. Like when they're spawning, you throw a jig around their little area that they've got planted out to
protection
get to their spawn on. They're going to kill it. It doesn't matter if it's a freaking bright pink crawdad jig, the most ridiculous. You can throw a twitching jig out and they're going to eat it because they want whatever you've put in that area off. So there are times where bass don't care. Like they're going to defend, they're going to protect. But there are times that they do. And it's usually those times when you really want to catch the big ones, I find. Like they're keyed in on what they want to do.
Well, and at that point, it's generally give them something like a bait fish type of pattern or a crawdad pattern. Because they'll usually eat one of the two on a general basis.
Yeah. A couple questions here. What type of hook was that Texas rig? That was, I think it was like not a hybrid hook, but it's like an Ike approved. That specifically was like an Ike approved flipping hook.
Gamakatsu makes them.
Yeah, a lot of them make any kind of. I like a straight shanks for my jigging. I guess we can talk about that because they have offset hooks too. But I like
EWGs.
Like EWGs and stuff like that. I'll pull a couple of them out here.
You got EWG
just so you guys can see here, like some different style hooks. I think
hook.
Yeah, so even that one's different too because this one's really offset. So like, here's some other flipping hooks. I like the straight. We'll go side cam here, Clint. So this was the hook that was in that rig. I just slid the bait off of it. So this was that hook. It kind of has a little plastic keeper for keeping that crawdad. There, I like the straight just because I feel like I lose less fish on them. However, like anything offset with these kind of funky looking hooks here, man, I don't know how many millions of fish have been caught on, and a lot of people like them too.
I prefer them personally.
Yep.
But those are the extra wide gaps. I like them, especially on plastic worms or that nature. Now, if you're flipping, you want the flipping hook just because of the meat of them.
Yep. Cool. Let's
Do you put those on the hook different then, with the way they're bent at the end? You pop them out.
Yeah,
The EWG.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab just another different style bait here. Grab one of these. Grab one of those bugs and just show an EWG. Just put one in there.
So the nice thing with the EWG is the way they're bent in. It's just gonna work. Yeah. So you take these EWGs. You just want to basically come in through this. Bring it back out through the center. I'm not completely centered.
Yeah, so you're only putting it in like, what, a 1/4 inch or so?
Yeah. And basically, when it comes up to here, you're almost like a straight shank hook. The advantage of an EWG really is, so once I do the same thing with this hook, now it's completely weedless. But the difference is when they bite down is the amount of gap you get here for the bite versus the amount you would have on this type of hook. So if you can see the amount of gap there. So when that fish bites down, takes it from here, bites down on it, you've got that much hook to penetrate into their mouth.
Let me show everyone kind of from the side here. So that'd be tied, the eye is just barely buried into the tip of that. Mm-hmm. And then you can see how that bait's going to sit and crawl along the bottom. Very weedless, very effective. There it goes. Boom. You can kind of, that's the other thing too. Whenever you do any kind of
talk about is it does make a lot of difference if you don't freaking center that hook and make sure it's dialed.
It does.
Like Nolan was so particular on us when we were fishing in Erie, like when we were rigging those little goby jigs or whatever. Like he was, had to be perfect.
We're gonna talk. I got those to talk about next for tubes.
Yeah, I personally try to make everything as straight and centered as possible. I mean, sometimes when you're in a hot bite and they're fired up, it don't matter. Yeah. But when they're not and the conditions are tough, it makes every bit of difference in the world.
One thing about this, any of these Texas rig guys, the huge advantage of them is that you're going to slightly bury the point into the plastic, and that gives you that weedless protection and the rock protection too. So if you're throwing anything in weeds, that's the one advantage of this stuff sometimes, is that you just get a little less of that on there. But you could also potentially miss a fish or two if you're not swinging for the fences on them.
And the other part of that is you don't want to bury them real deep. You just want to slightly bury them.
Just the point. Just the point in, so nothing grabs on it until the fish bites it and just pops that hook out. Bang. Let's here, Tom, I'm gonna have you this, and I've actually got another little bait too that Marlon was talking about. You want to catch a bunch of fish on the Columbia, and you don't care.
There's many ways to fish at.
Yeah, but this is also super simple. Here, I got these little purple jig heads in here because these are just a cheap little jig head that I think I had sitting around from twitching season. But a little tube that you guys can take and just putting this jig head inside the tube, rolling that forward, punching out the eye, bam, like look at that, instant freaking jig lure. Oh, show me down. There you go. Instant little smallmouth morsel that will get eaten, I mean, over and over and over again. Like,
and just a nice trick for sliding that head in those tubes is I use a lot of Procure scent.
Oh yeah.
And I just pump that tube full of scent, then slide the jig in it.
You know, it's funny. These were the football heads that these were the football heads we were using in Erie, and they're a little tougher to get into that jig head. But that's the other thing that Nolan would do is he would take a very, I'm not going to out him, but a very particular
scent,
Procure scent gel, and he would slather the tube and then insert it in there and slide it in, and then bam.
Well, the nice thing about the scent being squeezed up in there as you're working that bait, it leaves a trail.
Yeah.
A scent trail behind them.
So that's another just fantastic, super simple, easy bait. I like Texas rig too. Yeah. So the idea though when it comes to jigs, guys, is that there's a million different ways to skin that cat. And I really, at any given time, they're all effective. But what it comes down to, especially kind of like in the tournament fishing stuff, is kind of finding like what's the most efficient, what's causing you to lose the least amount of fish because you want to see every single one of them. What sometimes big fish are targeting, because I do think that big fish tend to, sometimes if they see a meal that's kind of that small, it's not worth their effort. And maybe the little rat fish that you're trying to fight away on the Columbia are always picking that up, and then they're shying away from like a bigger bait. So sometimes it really varies, and a lot of it's just being out there and being familiar with kind of like what's kind of going on at that day, and then also adjusting and switching off that. So
yeah, when I first moved up here, I was throwing big jigs and fishing for smallmouth because I didn't know any better. I was still in my largemouth modes, and I was catching good-sized smallmouth doing that.
Yeah.
So I've never gone away from it.
Never gone away from it. I always have the problem with setting the hook in the plastic right after rigging it up. Always looks like it's messed up and not a natural bait. Shane, I think that's just a little practice. And then one thing I will say too is, can you Texas rig a tube, like demonstrate it? We can.
You can. It's usually better with a wide gap hook.
I don't know if I have any like tubes big enough for the hooks that I have.
No, I don't.
But one to Shane, to your point, is the other thing is don't practice with it out on the water. Don't like really have an understanding of like the size of baits you're using and then the hook that corresponds with that. Like really fine tuning. Like there's a reason why they make a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. Like really understanding like what hook works really good for what particular bait. And kind of like, when you're in the garage, like kind of like piece together,
play around with it,
and then really pay attention to that. Cause like a lot of times like the hooks are too big or they're too small. And so if they're too small, you'll have a lot of like plastic built up. Like, so when you set the hook, like a lot of that plastic can't move away from the bend of the hook and you lose a lot more fish. Or the hook's too big, it looks too gaudy, fish don't want to pick it up as much. So it's just a lot of tinkering.
Yeah, if you want to Texas rig a tube, the best way is just run it through like we did on this bait here, basically the same way, and just bring it all the way out and squeeze the tube so it pops back up, and use an EWG hook on it. And then just put a Texas rig, a bullet weight on top, and peg it.
Yeah. So for the guys, that's a lot of kind of the jig stuff. I see a lot of guys were commenting on, that particular plastic was the Bandito bug. I saw some people kind of commenting and asking on that. So that, definitely popular bait. It's got a nice slow fall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people like it. The other thing too, when it comes to jigs, probably the last point that we'll talk about here, and then we got to talk about some reaction stuff, is also don't go sometimes too heavy on a jig. If you're fishing from shore, fishing shallower water, sometimes, going a half ounce is almost too heavy. It's falling down in the rocks too quick, and it's getting down in the rocks and snagging. It's not giving the fish the chance. And sometimes, man, anytime you can put a slower fall on any bait, whether it's a Senko, whether it's a jig, small swim bait stuff, it's like irresistible to
I think if I was fishing from shore, I would want to go a lot lighter. Just because you've got to pretty much, to be more successful, especially this time of the year, the fish are going to be a little closer to the bank. So you're going to cast up and work it vertically along the bank instead of way out. So you're just going to, or vertically, horizontal, right along the bank. So you're not going to get out very far. So you really don't need a heavy jig, a 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce, probably max when you're going to do that. So
keep changing it up. Yeah, all these are also walleye killers on the Columbia, says DB. Yeah, dude, I've caught some stud walleye. In fact, in the last tournament, Solilo, was that Euclid? Yeah. Oh no, I caught one on a jerkbait. I caught one a nice 16, 17 incher, and I'm like, what? First cast of the morning, smacks this walleye. I'm like, and I think it's a big smallie, which I don't know why, because it didn't fight after 5 seconds because it's a stupid walleye. Well, I throw it in the live well all day, And we get done, and I'm like, someone's gonna want to eat this thing. So we kept it alive with our bass, and then brought it in. So yeah, you will pick up walleye quite often too, guys out there. One of my favorite plastics is Berkeley Pit Boss.
Pit Boss, that's a good bait.
Absolutely, good bait.
Yes,
Get a
sir.
solid head tube to Texas rigs. This is Joe. Yeah, get a solid head tube to Texas rig.
Yeah, the G
Yeah,
lock.
I've only got these little. I kind of just brought a little spattering of some of these smaller tubes. I don't have any like bigger tubes. To
Yeah, I
Texas
throw usually 3.5 to 4 inch tubes.
a little more
And
meatier.
In the springtime, if it's sight fishing for largemouth, I've got some 6 and 7 inch tubes. They call them mambo tubes, just big old honking giant tubes.
They're not afraid of it. They, you
No.
know, I mean, a bait that big can get eaten by a fish that big. Like it's, they just don't.
Well, yeah, look at one of the fish I caught this weekend. The bait was actually longer than the fish.
Oh, yeah,
it's like, you got to be kidding
and it's
me.
annoying in a tournament. It's fun when you're out there just going for numbers.
Numbers, yeah.
Use a 3-aught. Yeah, need to let it flutter down. If there's current, if they're in current, what would you choose for bait?
Hula grub.
Yeah, I mean,
5 inch.
Jigs still work great current. There's times late in season we're using 3/4 ounce heads to get down to when the fish are like starting to winter.
Oh yeah,
offshore
when
points.
they're 20, 25 feet, 30 feet.
There's times you were doing like November fishing. Sometimes you're fishing at 25 feet and catching them like crazy.
Yep.
On gravel bottoms, football head, and Yamamoto 4-inch hula grub. That's his favorite bait. I did not bring one here today. I suck.
I prefer the 5 inch hula grub over the 4, but personally, it's just me.
Yep.
You know, the one thing about bass fishing, fish to your strengths, fish to what you have confidence in. If you don't have confidence in a bait, you're probably going to give up on it way too soon.
Yeah.
So.
And all these baits that we showed you guys will like work. If I can make a video right now, challenge me, like go out and catch a fish on every one of these baits tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can totally do it.
Oh yeah.
So,
right now they'll eat just about everything.
Fine tuning what you guys want. So
Robert wants to know about jerkbait. That's you,
let's
buddy.
so you have bottom contact jigs, kind of getting them down deep, but then there's also a lot of like the reaction stuff. And truth be told, if you're really learning, and like what we did on Monday with Layden was, I mean, it was an absolute spinnerbait show. And a lot of people really don't think that the Columbia River is good. For spinnerbaits.
You know, the biggest misnomer is spinnerbaits and smallmouth.
Yeah.
And smallmouth will crush a spinnerbait.
Man, I don't have any good spinnerbaits.
They will just about take a spinnerbait.
Yeah, I lost them with you, you jerk.
I did lose one.
I
lost 2.
So I've got a few spinnerbaits here, but these things have been well used. I know I've got a few more in another box in the boat, but we'll just show this. So show everyone the spinnerbait. So you're also one of those guys, and I'm just going to tell you guys right now, if you go out to the Columbia and you start throwing spinnerbaits, you will catch them. You will catch them. But this is basically a spinnerbait, guys. It's got some kind of blade configuration, whether it's Willow, Colorados, different color heads and skirts. As you can see, this guy has been put through the freaking paces. One of my favorite colors for the Columbia. But most people, and even this weekend, anything chartreuse and white. Chartreuse and white is obviously a color that smallmouth cannot resist. Probably the most popular color.
Well, that thing's been beat up.
Oh, dude, these things have been hammered. This was kind of my back of the boat. But I got a different box where all the shinier ones are. But guess what? You roll these out there. You're going to cast these out. These are really great baits for dealing with weeds and summertime fishing on the Columbia. Or wherever you go, largemouth fishing, you're going to have to contend with weeds. And this is a particular bait that really does excel for fishing around weeds. And in fact, this weekend, whenever Tom and I were running around fishing, and we'd get into some rock line, and we'd be fishing jigs and doing whatever, and then if the bank transitioned into more of a weed line and got a little thicker, I'd set the jigs down, I'd grab the spinnerbait. Coincidentally, we caught our largest fish of 2 days of fishing on a spinnerbait this weekend.
He had that one big one that rolled over it that might have been a difference maker for us.
Yeah, we lost a bigger one. We don't want to talk about that. Don't want to talk about it.
The
But
little difference maker.
the cool thing about spinnerbait, though, guys, is you don't really need a lot to fish them. Go off side cam here for a minute, Clint. So you need a 6, 8 to 7.5 foot spinning rod, casting rod, whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
Some 12 to 15 pound tests.
And
A little heavier.
The biggest thing with a spinnerbait, like for me, I learned this trick many years ago, is I like a bait caster for a spinnerbait with at least 15-pound test line on it. And I kind of just do a little roll cast towards the bank or whatever my target is. But as the bait's about to hit the water, I'll click it in gear. So as soon as it hits the water, I'll give it a little pop and then start reeling.
So what he's doing that for, guys, is sometimes when you cast these guys in the water, the blades will kind of flutter and they won't start their spin until you give it a little more speed right at the start. So sometimes you almost gotta like jump start them when you cast them out, fall them a little bit, give them a pop, get the blades, and you should be feeling that vibration from these blades working.
A lot of times after that pop and you start reeling, that's when you get plastered.
Oh, there's a fish sitting on it for sure.
Yep.
But then you also are going to use, like when you're fishing through the weeds, you're also going to use those blades and that feel to detect like if your spinnerbait's like really gumming up with weeds. And so sometimes you're going through the weeds, guy comes up, give it a quick pop, shake some weeds off. And a lot of times those fish are also reacting. One thing I got to give TJ a little credit to, because like, man, he was religious about fishing spinnerbaits in open water. I probably shouldn't even be saying this. But he would always cast out, and during his retrieve, as he was bringing it back, every few feet he was just like, pink. He was just putting it off its rhythm. So the blade's going through the water, and then it'd kind of make a little.
It just does a little
jump or a little pop, and he was getting a lot of fish to react to that.
Because they react to the change of flutter. Kind of same thing. We're on this throwing a rattle trap. A lot of people just burn it, but you burn it. You do a little skip like this with the reel, and it makes that trap go like that, and then they just plaster it.
Yeah, any kind of like sudden
change in
movement, especially if you have a fish fall. One thing on Monday with Layden's Hughes Fish Spinnerbait, we were watching the fish, man. They were coming up and following. And then he'd get excited and he'd almost just he would stop reeling. But even that reel and then letting it fall, they were just smoking it right on the boat. So you got to be a little tricky, a little creative with those spinnerbaits. But man, if you want to put a 8-year-old on a whole bunch of fish, throw a spinnerbait in and just have them freaking cast that out, retrieve it. Especially right now, summertime, it is a fantastic. Zach. Okay, so there's a story. So Zach says, never thought I'd hear Cameron singing praises for spinnerbaits. I used to talk mad smack about spinnerbaits, and then Zach was my tournament partner last year in TBF until he had to go out and have a freaking kid this year. I know, whatever. So now I had to fish with Clint. Had to, Anyways, kind of bottom of the. Anyway,
the results were the same. You both won.
We're not gonna do that. But Zach would always throw that spinnerbait, and I would always just give him mad crap about it. And then every freaking day, the largest fish or the most fish or something like would be on that damn spinnerbait, and then we'd do really good on it. So don't sleep on the spinnerbait. There you go, Zach, for you.
Where's that?
But super easy to use, very reactive bait. The bites are ferocious.
Yeah,
that's the thing. The bites, you're reeling in, do, boom, he hits it. Set the hook.
One thing I would say about spinnerbait fishing, after you catch about 6 or 7, especially if they're big smallies, they'll tend to straighten this thing right out. And start watching your wire right here because one of the next fish, it'll break.
Yeah, they break.
So you may want to be changing up that bait really quick.
Do you ever put like a plastic on the end of it or a trailer hook?
Sometimes the trailer is good. With smallmouth, I find it less necessary than largemouth.
Isn't there another box? Oh yeah, yeah. So you can put another little
swim bait
make it a
or
little bigger presentation on there. So there's 2 comments I want to touch on because Shane and then Joe said this. If there's anything I can't stand when targeting bass, it's getting the hook jammed into a sunken log. But then Joseph says, got to cast where they live. So that is
part of bass fishing. If you ain't losing tackle, you ain't fishing for bass.
Right. And one thing about a spinnerbait, which is nice, is that generally speaking, most of the time, this bait does work really well in tight cover in weeds because of the way that hook is kind of oriented up.
Yeah.
And so it does tend to kind of roll over rods, and the blades kind of protect it. Now, if you get into like a log that has a split and a V and you freaking fire that in there, it's going to lock up. There's not much you can do. But this is definitely one bait that does excel really well fishing around those logs, around those weeds, around those rocks, and does a great job. I'm just going to throw a little 𝗘𝗘𝗟𝗣 swim bait on there just to give you guys a little idea of what Clint was talking about. I don't think it's necessary all the time, but
I
you know.
I don't have much luck throwing a trailer on there. Like, it seems like I don't
Yeah,
get as
so you can
many
put like a big trailer on there, and you can see I got a bait. You can kind of
Yeah,
one more
sometimes
time.
a trailer is good, sometimes it's not.
And sometimes, like, I also think it interferes with the hook gapping and stuff.
Right.
But and then there's some baits that people don't fish the skirts and they only fish the swim bait behind the spinner blade. So there's a lot of different things that you can
Do
again,
it's
just
very
like
versatile.
with all these jigs and whatnot, you can really get creative and kind of key in a little more to what
Did
they
you turn
work.
the boot tail upside down?
No, it's down. It's the right way, Tom. Come on.
Oh no,
Not that if you put it upside down, it wouldn't catch a fish.
no. Sometimes it works better upside down.
Oh, there we go. I can't believe you
Just-
told. Why'd you tell people that?
I don't know.
Jeez Louise.
I should have been quiet.
Gosh. Anyways.
Joseph, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Brad's Wigglers work for smallmouth instead of standard crankbaits.
Yes.
Anthony, I can tell you this right now.
For a
one
fact,
of
yes.
my favorite crank when I do cranking, which isn't honestly that much, but I can tell you when I do fish a crankbait, it is a Brad's Wiggler. I love them because I am very used to, again, I'm very familiar with them when it comes to depth, when it comes to how they fish, because I am so used to chucking these things for coho. They're a great size. They have a good deep dive. And so a lot of times, crankbaits, guys, are a fantastic way to fish. They're a little cumbersome around weeds, but if you're fishing around like rock, riprap, places that you snag a lot and you want a bait that's going to stay up off that, it's going to work down to the bottom, hit the bottom, bounce along the bottom, not lock into those rocks like sometimes your jigs and stuff will. Crankbaits are great options. And like I said, I'm so familiar just with how they feel and how they work and the depth that I can fish them at. I've got a ton of Brad's Wigglers in there, and some of these guys have been just absolutely freaking chewed on. This blue, I got a mess here. I put this box together just kind of for this live feed. We got some of these minnow looking ones are fantastic little baits. Crawdad reds patterns for the springtime.
bass bait before it was a salmon lure, right?
I believe
Yeah,
so,
some
with
of
the
them.
old storms, yeah.
Storms.
Yeah.
The wiggleworts.
Yep. Just the salmon guys poaching all the crap from the. Oh, I'm making a freaking. I'm just going to have to worry about
That's
that.
a mess.
There we go. But yeah,
That's
guys,
a bloody mess.
One of my favorite crankbaits is a Brad's Wiggler. These are the standard Wiggler size. Someone asked the size. Yep. And I can tell you, man, like the bites, everything can be extremely effective. And man, it's weird. Sometimes they're on jigs and sometimes they're on more reactionary. They want to chase. Sometimes they want to suck it off the bottom and sometimes they want to chase. So there's never a time that I'm not going to the river and I don't have one of these, like at least some kind of crankbait, some kind of reaction bait tied on the rods to go. Now, if you want something that dives a little deeper, they have some of these. These are some of these big XDs style crankbaits. Some of these are painted from our friends over at Willamette Weapons. Does a little custom paint job on them. But sometimes a little deeper diving one to get down more fall time, I'd say. But so you can adjust with your crankbait size and try to match a little bit what you're fishing. Here's some square bill style kind that dive not as deep, little shallower diving baits. But yeah, the Brad's Wiggler, though, is honestly my favorite kind of all around for that 6 to 12 foot deep water, which is honestly where you find a lot of smallmouth.
Yes, and nice thing about crankbaits,
good.
one of the things you want them to do is to bounce off of things.
Yeah.
Dig deep. I tend to, if I'm cranking, I'll run 8-pound line on crankbaits just to make them run a little bit deeper. It's a little more dangerous because if you snag it, chances are you're not getting it back.
Yeah.
But
if you're not snagging them, you're not fishing them.
So
Joe asked, are we giving out a little too much juice? And Joe, this is my point when it comes to giving out juice, right? Everybody in that tournament we fished last weekend knows how to catch one on a crankbait. They know how to catch one on a spinnerbait. They're all
absolutely.
sticks. It's all like in the decision making, and it's all the process on like how am I going to go try to target big fish? Like so, there's a ton of nuance to that.
The whole game plan.
I mean, people know to go out, cast and retrieve a spinnerbait. People know how to go carry it. And the resources, I was
information.
going to say the resources online, everybody knows and everybody
When I go
learns.
to a new lake I've never been to, I'll spend 30 or 40 hours researching that lake before I go to it.
No, I don't think Joe fishes in the tournament. Joe's a stick, and I'm telling you, like he caught like what was that 7-pound freaking smallie, whatever that thing was last year. Yeah. I mean, seen one that big ever in my life.
I haven't even caught one that big.
So it just like I mean, but I think it's also when you get out there and like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to go here, got to go here. That's what I think kind of makes the tournament stuff.
Sure.
But, yeah, making the right choice at the right time. If I wish I knew when that was all the time. Yeah. Another thing. So when talking about crankbaits, and I didn't even think I have a lipless bait in here because I hate them.
Rattle chops are awesome.
Rattles aren't always better. I believe the fish have gotten hip to the rattle sounds. Yeah, there's a lot of very high end, jerk baits and crankbaits that have gone with kind of no rattle and even no regerts. We even see that in the salmon world when the salmon was like, killer fish will make non-rattling plugs as well because everything out there is with the rattle. You want to be a little different. Here's a plug without a rattle, but it's still putting off the vibration. There's something to be said for being just a little bit different.
Yeah.
There's something
and I think that makes a difference. I think that's what changes a lot of things is a lot of things we don't talk about is little tweaks that you can do when you're fishing. Like when we're fishing tournaments, going down a bank, boat positioning, how you're positioned on the bank, how you're approaching your targets can make a difference in how you're catching your fish.
I run my crankbait and spinnerbaits up against the pillars off my local bridge. It makes them go crazy. That's right.
Oh, sure.
Bass really love to follow stuff and key stuff until it makes contact with something.
And bounces.
And like we were talking about with the spinnerbait, and just anything that offsets a rhythm or something that makes them react. They're predators, guys. They're absolute predator. Different retrieves will help pick up the bites with cranks. Absolutely.
And that's a key word. It's a predator. If you're fishing for bass, think like a predator. How would you approach something if you were the predator?
I'm a little minnow and I just was stupid and swam into a bridge piling and the bass is not there to take advantage of it. Okay, gotta do it.
Yep. I'm going to pounce on that moment.
Yep. Burn and stop, says Joe. Nick says different retrieves also help pick up bites with cranks. Listen to these guys. If you're trying to pick up, those are
good comments.
Very, very key points for sure.
Just a little change in rhythm.
Somebody asked, because it's my son's favorite, so I can't forget about it.
Whopper plopper?
What about a whopper plopper?
Whopper plopper. I knew that before you even spit it out.
Yeah. So whopper plopper, guys. Let's talk a little top water action because we are getting into and we're going to have a top water season.
Yeah, our last tournament, not this last weekend, but the weekend before, we had a tournament in Celilo. My first cast, top water. Boom. Yeah. First cast. Thought, that might be a bad omen.
Yeah, one thing for at least our local area, guys, but if you're anywhere else, like kind of adjusting to and checking out the topwater bite is obviously it's a lot of fun. You see it, it's engaging, but big fish key into topwater baits. They really do. So having when you have the right conditions, when it's not you don't want to throw topwater in like 2-foot chop like we kind of had to deal with all weekend.
Oh, God.
But if you have, some slight wind chop on the water to flat, and fish can key in on the top baits, really good. What a whopper plopper here, guys. Super bait. You cast it out.
Super easy.
It on the top. It makes a little fluttering sound. Bass come up and
kind of a modified buzz bait.
Yeah. It's like a hard-bodied buzz bait. Yeah. You run them on the top, but it's something like, it's also can be really effective in areas that you have a lot of weeds or the cover is really tight, and getting those fish to kind of draw out of the cover and having something that can actually fish around really dense and really tough cover. Sometimes you need to utilize a topwater bait just so you can get something to them that can fish effectively. And having and being able to draw them out if they're, if everything's quiet and silent and they got this thing rattling above their heads, it will draw those big smallmouth out to hit topwater. You got whopper ploppers here, which is an extremely effective bait. My son loves fishing them because they're easy, but we also have a lot of walking baits that they always tend to be like bone colored or white.
I love that color.
Yeah, like bone colored or white, just something that can silhouette like a minnow's belly when they're looking up on the surface. These things you're going to jerk along the top. I'm not going to get too much into them. And then you also have, your kind of your 101 largemouth popper.
Popper.
That's been around forever.
That's my favorite bait right there.
Making the bloop. The reason why there's no hooks on this popper is because a couple of weeks ago, I absolutely tore the living hell off the hooks. The fish were hitting it so much that, I eventually just had to take the hooks off it to force myself to put new hooks on because they were bending them so bad. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love my top waters, but, it's, again, all the tweaks and different things you do with them, but we all make different rhythms. I, for the life of me, cannot catch a fish on a whopper plopper. I can catch 6-inch fish, pound fish.
Yeah.
But you give me a walker or a popper, and it's game on. But with that whopper plopper,
James, I like the 90s for the smallmouth. That just seems to be a little. That seems to work. Really
and the bigger baits work well. Same with the bigger walking baits.
Big bait, big fish. Do you believe in that?
Yeah.
For smallmouth.
We got a couple of big fish that haunt us. We got a couple in a couple of spots that have been haunting us for years. Pop up, show themselves, and disappear.
Man, let's see here. Do you ever throw frogs? I didn't bring any frogs. I'm an idiot. But frogs, buzz baits.
Frogs are a blast, but people with frogging tend to set the hook on them way too fast. That's
Nick's saying that right there. One thing to really drill yourself into frog fishing. So, guys,
about 3 seconds. There you go.
I failed, guys.
Count 1001, 1002, 1003, then slam them on a frog. If you do it too quick, you're just going to jerk it right out of their mouth.
If you guys want to see how a frog take it, go to YouTube and just search like
frog fishing.
Frog fishing. There you go. That's something you can. Yeah. It's out there and it's great. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of fun. Just got a 6 on a whopper plopper today after work. Oh damn, that's a real one, dude. Yeah, Craig says 1, 2, 3 set exactly.
Yeah,
and even I have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, it's a patience game with topwater.
All right, guys, we got about a few more minutes here. Questions? We got some gear in front of us. We got some rods there. I got a question for you.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to save it for a second. But we also have another prize pack coming out, Marlon. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to do that for you guys that have stuck with us. Yeah, so let's see here. My question for you, I think Marlon's going to put that together for you guys.
You going to give me one of them fancy hats? I said, you're going to bring me one of them fancy hats? No, I'm good for now. I do like that hoodie, that sun hoodie with the, what do you call them?
Topo map?
Topo map on it. Oh, that's pretty bad.
We might know a guy. What about this guy for smallmouth? Chatterbaits.
Let's not talk about them.
Chime in. I want to know because
how many people throw chatterbaits for smallies?
I threw some chatterbaits for smallies while Layden was ripping them on spinnerbaits. I mean, it was like every 10 feet. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, I'm going to sit in front of him and throw a chatterbait because I just wanted to get
boom, 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 boom.
No.
You didn't get bit on him? It's on the wrong color.
That must be it because there was something going on.
White, chartreuse and white.
I swear to you, like I was throwing like some stuff like this. Some stuff like this guy, the chartreuse and white, like we talked about earlier. And what a chatterbait is, guys. Let's go to a side cam one more time here. Ooh, Marlon hooked up a good prize pack. So this is the chatterbait. It's kind of a cross between a jig and a spinnerbait, but it's a bladed bait. And what happens is you're pulling this guy through the water. This blade is putting off a serious amount of vibration, kind of wobbling side to side. And it's a really good bait for working around weeds, working around logs and stuff, but very similar to spinnerbait. But I can tell you what, man, like, I don't know, Layden cleaned our clocks fishing spinnerbait behinds. And I don't know if I thought it had maybe more to do with the flash of like the big willows.
Or you just pissed him off and Layden cleaned him up.
Yeah, maybe that was it. I got him teed up.
You got him fired up and Layden coming in right behind you.
I'm trying to read some of these comments here. Yeah. Besides more bass vids. I used to, are they fun to throw but never had any luck with a chatterbait? I'm not a big chatterbait guy. I need to though, because I know there's times of years for largemouth that the fact that I'm missing, I'm missing the boat. Let's just say that, and that's maybe why I get my ass kicked every time. It's
I know
a chatterbait.
for largemouth, I like either a swim bait behind it or a crawl.
Yeah, I never caught a fish on a chatterbait. Way too fun, but never had luck. Yeah, I'm not a big chatterbait guy. I got a few. Right place, right time. Yeah, isn't that the case, Joe? I'm here. Yeah. Yep, Joseph killed. Yeah, I love. Yeah. So yeah, anyways, chatterbait. Verdict's still out. You know. All the salmon guys and gals need to bass fish while the rivers and tribs are closed 100%. Must. Yeah, Ryan. That's exactly it. Because, let's be honest, if you're salmon steelhead guys, it ain't good year round. And then they do something like Thursday, where it's closed for sockeye, and you guys were all like pounding sockeye dead. Oh, yeah. Oh, closed Thursday. Oh, well.
Well, if you love the
sockeye, so you're going to Columbia. What are you going to do? Well, shut up.
Yeah.
Okay, Marlon, shut up. Thanks.
If they're running.
Well, I don't know if he heard you, if you guys heard it, but he said, "Well, no, summer's steelhead." I was like, "Shut up! It's not my point. My point is the beauty about the bass fishing.
It's all
year. At
year.
least around here is it's for the most part, it's like
March through December.
It's open just about everywhere. Like honestly, the thing it is like open everywhere. Like if you have rivers, some rivers that are even closed to like salmon and seal fishing still are open to bass fishing.
Right.
Like you don't play this like real heavy, closed water, open water. Oh, we hit the smallmouth bass quota on the Columbia River today, and we got to shut her down for a couple weeks.
Exactly.
Never
that doesn't
gonna
happen.
So it is a little bit like you can kind of plan around it and plan some good weekends up on the lake around it. And I can tell you guys, like especially one thing I've been doing this year is I've been getting out and hitting a lot of lakes that aren't necessarily really known as warm water bass lakes and finding freaking giants this year.
Yeah, and if you even around here, Craig's making the comment, fishing all year round. If the river kind of slows way down in the winter, but you can go to some of the lakes and fish a lake and catch them all year round as long as the lake doesn't ice over.
I hear the lower Yakima has smallmouth too and never caught a bass. And Anthony, the lower Yakima is freaking loaded with smallmouth. Like a lot of these lower
down by the Tri-Cities
area.
The
lower John Day,
John Day, yes.
Dude, there's so many more rivers all the way up to the Snake. The Snake has giant smallies in it. Which state is sockeye closing Thursday? Shane, it's below Bonneville, so Washington and Oregon. Yeah, Thursday's your last day to fish. Yeah. Oh, so Marlon's prize pack here. We've got one of our new addicted flashers. A little Kelly green, little moon jelly and chrome. I like it. The chrome dip custom. We're going to do a bait towel with that badass eagle holding that giant steelhead.
Nice hat.
And one of the raised Hooks hat. That's like another like $50, $60 price pack for you guys that stuck in here and helped out with the bass. So you guys were commenting. Hopefully you guys are going to get entered into it. And we'll do it. We're going to get that prize pack out here in just a second. Any more questions on the bass, guys? Well, we got Tom in here. We didn't even get too much into rods and stuff, but man, everyone's like to talk about the gear. Honestly, generally, the only thing I will say if you're a new guy and you're going to go try to do it, try not to fish the 8.5, 9 foot, 10 foot rods. Try to leave those at home.
Yeah, 7 foot, 6.5.
Yeah, you're better off with your smaller
rods.
You're better off with your smaller trout rods.
Yeah.
Do I need a glitter boat, or can I do it in my?
Oh, do you need a glitter boat? For the record,
you're talking about a glitter rocket? Is that what they're called?
My boat has no glitter. You've been on my boat.
A glitter rocket for ditch pickles.
I think I need to pick out the color scheme for your boat and fit your
No, I'm just like I want to go do it in my Columbia or my adventure.
Dude, I don't know why you wouldn't.
I just
need a bow mount motor. You have a bass boat.
Yeah.
And even if you don't, just drift along, let the current push you or the wind.
Yeah. Bass rods for twitching, Brett. My favorite twitching rods for coho
are bass rods.
The
first time I met this
100%.
guy, he's looking at my rods going, dude, you can go coho fishing and twitching with these things.
My favorite twitching rods are bass rods, but also a lot of guys, there are some techniques, like when we were doing some Carolina rigging and some heavier dragging, I was just sticking my son with my 761 Akuma twitch rod.
Yeah.
He's smoking them on it. So it's like there is, in that 7.5 foot to 6'8" range, side range, there's a lot of cross pollination there between the salmon and the bass for sure.
Yeah.
All right. I just got back into fishing this year because my daughter has been itching to do it, and we're all addicted. Well, get out there and do some bass stuff.
Nice thing about bass fishing too is if you got your kids, you want to get them hooked into fishing.
Dude,
it's a great way to get them started on fishing because they're going to catch a lot more numbers than generally if you're salmon fishing.
Dude, so my son, he's helping me just do like guided, steelhead trips, and the last few days have been just phenomenal. It's been great for the last couple of weeks, but even after today, it's like, Layden, what would you rather do? Go out and rip some big summer steelhead or get ready for the bass? Oh, he's like, I love bass fishing. So.
Yeah, it gets kind of addicting.
Good way to get them hooked.
I love any kind of fish. I mean, if you can take me ocean fishing, I'm happy. Salmon fishing, steelhead fishing. My passion is bass fishing. My passion is tournament fishing. I love competition.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You especially.
That's the best part of it.
Competition.
But it is also fun to get kids into, and it's also fun to go out there and rip them with your buddies and have a great time and not just sit there and wait for a trolling rod to maybe get a bite springer fishing for like 17 hours and not get a bite or see a fish caught. So, whatever. Each your own. You might as well grab a starvation stick at that time. So, all right, Clint, pick a winner, and we are going to get on out of here. Let's see here. I use swim bait in Texas at night for bass tail vibration. That's right. Well, Chris Spence, congratulations for that comment. You won this prize pack. If you email us at orders@addicted.fishing, we'll send it out to you guys. And Tom, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, you bet.
If you guys want to see more bass, leave some comments below. Share the feed out, do all that good stuff. I know we got to do a couple introductory videos for at least the Northwest bass fishing.
Go out there and do some film. And
we keep talking about it, and then like tournaments on weekends we're working. Yeah.
I know it seems like every weekend we've been doing tournaments. I think I've had maybe 1 or 2 weekends. I haven't done tournaments since March.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's a lot of them out there, and it's a lot more prevalent than you guys think. So, all right, and thank you guys. Thanks some of you sticks out there for chiming in and helping out tonight. We appreciate you guys all. See you guys on the water.
All right. See you.